Okay, I'm going to try to make a short video, and as you can see, I'm really excited about the thing that I'm going to show you at the end of this video, of course. I encourage you to watch the video from beginning to end because we will evolve into it. So first we will have this example. And eventually it will turn into something more like this. And let me really isolate the difference between this and this. We're going to take advantage of many of the features that make Reaper a power horse, and let's get into it straight from Mexico City. My name is Juanchis. So I will keep for a moment this Saike Analyzer that I really like sometimes for teaching and comparing stuff. You can set this up in a whole other track that you can call Analyzer and just send other tracks into it. And what this will do is it will allow you to have inputs 3 and 4 in channel 2, 5 and 6 into 3, 4, 5, and blah, blah, and so on. That lets me compare my drums that are coming into 1 and 2, well, into 3 and 4, against my keys that are coming into channel 3. You can adjust this metering thing. Go watch the span video that I did if you want to learn more about metering. But I can also make videos on that. If you want to learn, let me know. But what I want to make really clear is that your EQ probably, once you get that first balance that's really stable, can start moving and add some excitement that's not up front in the mix, but it's so beautiful for the ear candy that we all love. In this case, I have a huge piano, a huge keyboard that's just making up this huge low end. And it sounds like this. And you could just might feel temptation and high pass it strongly and just remove it completely. But I think it really helps, and you have to start thinking on making decisions across the arrangement instead of just making decisions just because. I have a bigger loop where eventually these drums don't have a kick drum, and this is working as some sort of bridge. And one thing that might be useful is that maybe while I have this kick drum section, I might want a low shelf that only controls the lowest part of my Prophet and gives me some extra space for that kick drum. I don't want to high pass it, I want to control it. I don't want to cut it. I will make a long video on that. So you can start building more criteria on how to pick your filters. So I'm going to make this go lower. I'm simply going to open the automation section and I'm going to change my order of parameters to last touch, and now I can see that here it is, frequency low shelf, active and view, and that opens up this envelope where I can automate completely how is my shelf working. In this first section, I will have it with kick, and in this second section that's called some sort of bridge, I'm going to have it without a kick. So for this second section, I will only use my envelope shortcuts that I have on another video that I will link in the description, and I will just drag this envelope lane all the way to the middle, and that makes my EQ move across the timeline. It has to transition though. It's strange for it to move so abruptly. So maybe I want to add some small slope, something like from here to here. And I might just want to add a small envelope point right here, remove these two, holding Option and left click, and add a small slope into it. You can go into your grid settings and try to figure out if you want it to happen across a quarter note, an eighth note, or whatever. And once you have that slope, you can do a razor edit and make it smaller or bigger as necessary and adjust it however you might find it's working the best. That way, when the EQ is opening space, it sounds more like this. This is important because maybe in your vision of whatever song you're making, you need that extra space for the low end as long as the kick drum is there. But sometimes you want some sections to actually be heavier and you're going to miss that low end because you don't have a kick drum. Of course, you can just narrow and remove things, but remember that all of the movements are available in any single direction that you can think of because they are only movements. Take advantage of the space of the frequency range of every single instrument. And if I listen only to the keys and compare it again with my Saike Analyzer that's available on the RIA pack, as you can listen, it's not so aggressive because I'm not doing a high pass completely. So it's not strange that only this low end comes. Again, try it and make it work with whatever you're doing. That's the first step. Like, move your EQs across your session, across your production. Not everything has to be all fixed in one single space and committed bandpassed heavily. I feel sometimes that's boring. And not every single detail that you do has to be completely upfront. Let me show you what I did with this reverb. I'm using Mangled Verb by Eventide, this plugin right here. And it's a fantastic reverb. Check it out. I can make a video on it if you want to. And I also made a video on the H3000 launch that you can also check in my channel. So what I'm going to do with this Mangled Verb is, this is already a really interesting texture inside of my reverb. But I'm going to filter it and add some sort of phasey modulation into it because it's not built into the reverb. Even though it has some modulation built in, it's more chorus-like according to my ear. So I'm going to use RIA EQ because I don't need a really CPU intensive EQ for this. And I'm going to build something like a 2-pole phaser, something like that. And I'm just going to make these 2 bands in any region because I'm not too worried about it, of making it to some really precise section. And remember that you can add a lot of modulation internally in Reaper to any single plugin. So I'm going to last select my frequency because I want the plugin to move from left to right. I've shown this a lot of times in this channel. I'm going to go into parameter modulation link. I'm going to add a low frequency oscillator. That's just an extra hand that's not forcing you to move or automate things within the session. Yes, you could do it with automation, but you're going to end up with some huge lanes of automation. I'm going to leave it a sine wave. I'm going to just adjust the strength so it's not such a huge movement. So for me to set up this LFO properly, first I will lower the strength to 0. I will set up this starting point of the filter. I'm going to increase the speed crazily because I just want to increase the strength and see what's the range of the EQ actually doing. So I can start narrowing it down to maybe that range, that works. And I'm going to lower the speed a lot. Even more, like so. Something like really slow. And I'm going to make it start in a different phase point of the LFO itself. I don't want the phase to be resetted at any single point. I just want it to free run forever freely. And I'm going to do that exact same programming with the other band, except this one is going to go from the upper range into the lower range. So again, parameter modulation link, add an LFO, set my strength all the way down, speed all the way up, and set my starting point with the uppermost fader. And I want this one to move negatively, not positively, because I want it to move lower into the frequency spectrum. And I'm going to add strength into it until I find the range that I need, more or less. That's good enough. And I'm going to type another range here that could be something like that. Maybe a little bit faster, something like that. Yeah, that works. And again, it's going to be free running forever and ever. And I'm just going to adjust a little bit more with the cues. And I'm going to have them chasing each other. Eventually, they will run into each other. And now my phased reverb sounds like this. You can make it really, really rhythmical if you want to. Remember that you can set it up to quarter notes. But now I'm going to take advantage of more features built into Reaper. And I'm going to use this small knob right here. And this is the dry wet of the EQ itself. So I'm going to just add a little bit of that phasing sound, not so much. Now it has that extra movement that I really like. Another thing that I can do is that instead of just sidechaining it, and my last week's video was on sidechain, if you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description, is that I can do some convolution manipulation so it EQs into a really strange thing. So I'm going to first disable, this is a really step-by-step thing that you have to follow step-by-step. I'm going to disable the send for a moment from the keys into the Mangled Verb, that's disabled. And in the Mangled Verb track, I'm just going to load any vocal, any sample that I want. In this case, I'm using an A sound, that's right here. I'm going to disable this, and I have this. And I'm going to disable both of my plugins, and now I have this sound. Yeah. Okay, I have that sound. And I want that to morph my reverb into, okay? So I'm going to load Reappear, that you can use it to cut noise from your recordings, but you can use this as a profile for EQing stuff. That means that I'm going to use a fast FFT size. That way I can get the vocal sounding really precise with a lot of bands available. And I'm going to automatically build the noise profile during the noise. So I'll play this sample. And now it built the EQ of my A sound. If I go with a lower FFT, it will look like this. And it's really square, so the A sound won't be properly EQ'd. If I go really, really heavy on the FFT, let me reset it by just holding down the mouse, the left click, and dragging it down. That's a really, really precise A sound. Probably a good starting point is around 8, so try it there, and if not, change it. That's realistic enough for me. And now I'm going to disable the automatically built noise profile, and I'm going to change this into an EQ. And now this is EQing anything that's going through it. That includes my reverb. If you're missing level, because this is something that could happen, you can just add any simple transparent gain JX device that you have at hand. I'm adding 6 dB right here, but you can add anything. You can use any third-party plugin, or you can use stock plugins that are a lot less CPU intensive. Now I have this sound. And again, I'm going to take advantage of this dry-wet knob. And this reverb has this sound built into it, even though what I'm feeding is the keys. And that's an interesting sound. If I turn on my EQ as well, that's moving. And I play that back against my keys. It has this really small hint of an playing in the back. And if I play this against my drums, and if I sidechain this, and now I have so much movement across a very small idea. That's something fun to try. If you like this kind of videos, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and thanks for listening.